All right, so are you ready to dive deep? Because today we are looking at healthy relationships
Oh, absolutely.
with Melvyn C.C. Valenzuela's book,
Yes.
Building Strong Foundations, a guide to healthy relationships.
It's a good one.
This book is,
It's packed with good stuff.
yeah, it's packed with insights, and we are going to extract those golden nuggets to help all of you build stronger connections.
You know what I found so fascinating about this book
Hmm.
was how Valenzuela, he takes these complex concepts and makes them so practical.
Yeah.
You know, he uses stories of couples
Mm-hmm.
like Sarah and Ben and Maria and Jose and Elena and Pedro
I love that.
to illustrate his points.
Yeah.
Each of these couples faces unique challenges, right?
Right.
And their stories highlight the different ways that we can apply these principles in our own lives.
That's what I love about this book. It's so relatable, and he starts off strong,
He does.
emphasizing that communication is key. Why?
Oh, it's so important.
But it's not just about talking. It's
Yeah.
about really listening.
Absolutely.
You know, like actually absorbing what your partner is saying.
Exactly. And Valenzuela calls it active listening.
Okay.
And it's about being present,
Mm.
both physically and mentally.
Yeah.
He suggests techniques like reflecting back what you hear.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about how often do we just wait for our turn to talk?
Oh, yeah.
Instead of really understanding what our partner is trying to convey
All the time.
all the time?
It's so easy to fall into that trap,
It is.
especially in our fast-paced world with all these distractions.
So many distractions.
But what really stood out to me was
Yeah.
Valenzuela's emphasis on nonverbal cues.
Uh-huh.
It's like there's this whole silent conversation happening
Yeah.
alongside our words.
It's fascinating how much we communicate without even realizing it.
Right.
Our body language,
Mm-hmm.
our tone of voice, even a simple touch, it all speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Valenzuela shares a story about Elena. She's having this really tough day.
Okay.
And how Jose, just placing his hand on her shoulder, spoke volumes.
Mm.
It's those small gestures
Yeah.
that can convey empathy and support in ways that words sometimes can't.
It makes you realize how powerful nonverbal communication can be
Yes.
in strengthening those bonds.
Absolutely.
But let's be honest. Sometimes, even when we are trying to communicate effectively,
Right.
expressing our own needs
Uh-huh.
can turn into a blame game.
It can.
Uh,
That's where I statements come in.
Go.
This is a technique that focuses on expressing your feelings without attacking your partner.
right.
So instead of saying, you never take out the trash,
Yeah.
you could try, I feel frustrated when the trash isn't taken out because it makes the kitchen feel chaotic.
It's amazing how a simple shift in wording can change the whole dynamic of a conversation.
It can.
Right.
It moves away from blame and towards finding a solution together.
Together.
And that's key for building a healthy foundation.
Yeah.
But communication is just one piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
Valenzuela also dives deep into the concept of trust and how it's built through consistent actions, not just words.
I think that's a really important point
It is.
because we often say, I trust you,
Yeah.
but do our actions back up those words?
Exactly. Think about it this way. Trust grows when someone consistently shows up for you, both in big ways and small.
Right.
It's about keeping promises, being honest, even about seemingly insignificant things, and being there for your partner when they're feeling vulnerable.
There's a story in the book about Sarah buying a new pair of shoes, right?
Yes.
It wasn't a huge purchase,
No.
but she felt guilty about not discussing it with Ben first.
She wanted to hide the purchase, but then she decided to be upfront about it.
Ah.
And Ben, instead of getting upset, appreciated her honesty.
Oh, wow.
It's a great example of how transparency, even in small matters, can build trust and deepen connection.
It takes courage to be that vulnerable.
It does.
But the payoff is huge in terms of building that solid foundation of trust.
Absolutely. And speaking of vulnerability, Valenzuela emphasizes how important it is for building intimacy. It can be scary to share our fears and insecurities, but it's in those moments of vulnerability that we truly connect on a deeper level.
He shares a story about Sarah being anxious about a work presentation, right?
Yes. Sarah confided in Ben about her anxieties, and it not only helped her feel supported,
Mm-hmm.
but it also created a safe space for Ben to open up about his own work-related stress.
Wow.
It's amazing how one person's vulnerability can give the other permission to do the same.
It creates a ripple effect of openness and connection.
It does.
But how do we nurture that intimacy beyond just the initial stages of a relationship?
Well, Valenzuela suggests incorporating regular check-ins into your routine.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be a formal sit-down therapy session,
Yeah.
but rather a dedicated time, even if it's just 15 minutes, to connect on a deeper level.
Okay.
Put away the phones, shut off the TV, and just talk.
I love that.
Share your highs and lows of the day, discuss any challenges you're facing,
Yeah.
or simply enjoy each other's company without distractions.
It's like a mini date for your emotional connection.
Exactly.
But let's face it, even the strongest relationships hit bumps in the road.
Yeah.
Arguments are inevitable, right?
Absolutely. And that's where Valenzuela provides some incredibly valuable guidance.
Okay.
He outlines unhealthy communication patterns that can sabotage a relationship.
Uh-oh.
He calls them criticism, defensiveness, stonewalling, and contempt.
Okay.
Recognizing these patterns is the first step to breaking free from them.
Okay, let's unpack these one by one.
Okay.
Starting with criticism. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes offering constructive feedback is important, right?
Of course. But criticism, as Valenzuela defines, it attacks the person's character rather than addressing specific behaviors.
Okay.
For instance, instead of saying, you always leave your clothes on the floor,
Yeah.
try saying, I feel frustrated when clothes are left on the floor because it makes the room feel cluttered.
So it's about shifting the focus from blaming to understanding and finding solutions together.
Exactly. And it's about being mindful of our tone and delivery. In the book, John makes a seemingly harmless joke about Sarah being forgetful, but it ends up hurting her feelings.
Ooh.
It's a reminder that even when we're trying to be funny, it's crucial to be sensitive to our partner's emotions.
Yeah, it's so easy to unintentionally say things that hurt,
It is.
especially when we're feeling frustrated.
Right. And that's where defensiveness comes in.
Okay.
It's that natural reaction to protect ourselves when we feel attacked. But defensiveness shuts down communication.
Right.
Instead of trying to understand our partner's perspective, we resort to blaming, making excuses, or denying responsibility.
It's like building a wall instead of a bridge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Valenzuela suggests a more constructive approach.
Okay.
Acknowledge your partner's concerns and offer a solution.
Okay.
For example, if your partner expresses frustration about you not helping with the dishes,
Yeah.
instead of getting defensive here,
Yeah.
try saying something like, you're right, I haven't been as helpful with the dishes lately. I'll make a conscious effort to do my part.
So it's about taking responsibility and showing a willingness to work together.
Absolutely. And it's about recognizing that we're on the same team, not opposing sides,
Right.
but sometimes communication shuts down completely.
Oh.
That's what Valenzuela calls stonewalling.
Stonewalling.
Yeah,
That sounds intense.
it is.
What does it look like?
It's when one partner completely withdraws from the conversation, refusing to engage.
Wow.
It's like talking to a brick wall,
Right.
and it leaves the other partner feeling unheard and unimportant.
That's got to be incredibly frustrating and hurtful.
It is, and the book offers some helpful advice for avoiding this pattern.
Okay.
If you feel overwhelmed during a conversation, communicate that need.
Okay.
Say, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed right now. Can we take a short break and come back to this later?
So it's about taking a pause without shutting down completely.
Exactly. It shows your partner that you're not abandoning the conversation, but that you need a moment to collect yourself. But perhaps the most damaging communication pattern, according to Valenzuela, is contempt.
Why is contempt so dangerous?
Because it involves sarcasm, mockery, and insults,
Oh!
all of which erode respect and intimacy.
Yeah.
It's like pouring poison into the well of your relationship.
Ouch, that's a powerful image.
It is.
So we've covered communication,
Yeah.
trust, and now these destructive communication patterns.
Yes.
Where do we go from here?
Well, in the next part, we'll explore how to build resilience and navigate challenges both individually and as a couple.
Okay.
Because, let's face it, life throws curveballs, and having those tools for navigating those rough patches is essential for any relationship to thrive.
Okay, I'm ready to dive into those resilience-building strategies. Bring on part 2.
All right, so you ready for those resilience-building tools?
Oh, yeah, bring it on.
All right, so Valenzuela kicks things off with stress management,
Okay.
but he doesn't just offer like vague advice.
Right.
He gives concrete techniques like mindfulness and meditation are highlighted as ways to become more aware of our thoughts and feelings.
I've heard about those,
Yeah.
but honestly haven't really tried them.
Mm-hmm.
What makes them so powerful for relationships?
Well, imagine this. Your mind is a runaway train,
Okay.
full of worries and to-dos.
Yeah.
Mindfulness and meditation are like hitting the brakes,
Okay.
allowing you to step off and observe those thoughts without judgment.
Uh-huh.
It's not about emptying your mind,
Okay.
but becoming aware of what's happening in there.
So it's about creating space
Yes.
between ourselves and
Yes.
those overwhelming thoughts. I
Exactly.
can see how that would be helpful, especially when conflicts arise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Valenzuela tells the story of Maria, who was
Oh,
feeling so overwhelmed with work, kids, and just daily life.
right.
She was experiencing racing thoughts, difficulty sleeping, anxiety.
Wow, so she was really struggling.
She was. And a friend suggested mindfulness meditation,
Okay.
and she was surprised by how much it helped.
So she wasn't trying to force those thoughts away, but rather acknowledging them and then refocusing.
Yes, exactly.
Ah,
Maria started incorporating a few minutes of meditation into her routine,
okay.
focusing on her breath and gently guiding her attention back to the present moment.
That's great.
And over time, she noticed a significant shift in her mood and well-being.
That's inspiring. It sounds like a practice anyone can benefit from, regardless of their relationship status.
Absolutely.
What other stress-busting techniques does Valenzuela recommend?
Well, he's a big advocate for exercise,
Okay.
and not just for the physical benefits,
Right.
but for the mood-boosting effects, too.
Uh-huh.
He tells the story of John,
Okay.
who was feeling so stressed and irritable, just
Yeah.
snapping at his partner, struggling to focus at work.
Oh, man. I've been there.
Right.
Sometimes I just need to move my body to shift my perspective.
Exactly. And John started incorporating exercise into his daily routine,
Okay.
beginning with short walks and gradually increasing intensity.
Okay.
He found that running in the morning helped clear his head and reduce stress.
Did it work?
It did for John.
Wow.
Not only did he experience those physical benefits,
Right.
but it impacted his mental and emotional state.
Interesting.
He was able to manage stress at work, communicate more effectively with his partner, and just navigate challenges with more ease.
So exercise can really have a ripple effect
It can.
on our overall well-being
It can.
and our relationships.
Absolutely. And Valenzuela also reminds us of the basics.
Okay, what are those?
Getting enough sleep,
Mm-hmm.
eating a balanced diet,
Uh-huh.
and limiting caffeine and alcohol.
Right.
These foundational habits
Yeah.
can significantly impact our mood and energy levels.
Yeah.
And by extension, our relationships.
Those things are so easy to let slip
Yeah.
when life gets busy.
Right.
Do you remember that story about Maria trying to improve her sleep habits?
I do. Maria was constantly feeling tired and irritable.
Right.
She realized that her sleep was suffering.
Mm.
So she started prioritizing it by establishing a regular sleep schedule
Okay.
and creating a relaxing bedtime routine.
Good for her.
She was intentional about making those changes,
Yeah.
and it made a world of difference.
It's a reminder that taking care of ourselves isn't selfish. It
No.
actually allows us to show up more fully for the people we care about.
Absolutely.
But what about those moments when difficult emotions just take over?
That's where emotional regulation comes in.
Okay.
Valenzuela emphasizes that it's a crucial skill for any relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about suppressing feelings,
Right.
but rather understanding and responding to them constructively.
That makes sense. Emotions can be powerful.
They are.
And if we don't understand how to manage them, they can lead to unhealthy patterns in our relationships.
Exactly. What are some of the techniques he suggests?
What are some of them?
Well, he recommends taking a step back when those intense emotions hit
Okay.
and trying to identify the root cause.
Okay.
It's like playing detective with our own feelings.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
So it's about asking ourselves what's really going on here
Yes.
instead of just reacting impulsively.
Exactly. He gives the example of John, who was increasingly frustrated with his partner, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
He realized that his anger stemmed from a deeper sense of insecurity
Wow.
and fear of rejection.
So by understanding the root cause of his anger,
Yeah.
he was able to communicate more effectively with Sarah.
Yes. He was able to express his feelings without blaming or attacking,
That's huge.
which allowed them to work towards a solution together.
Together.
Valenzuela also highlights the importance of developing healthy coping mechanisms,
Okay. Like what?
like journaling, spending time in nature, or engaging in creative activities.
It's about finding what works for you.
Exactly.
What resonates with one person might not work for another.
He shares the story of David, who found solace in music when he was feeling overwhelmed.
Mm.
He would pick up his guitar and lose himself in playing,
I love that.
allowing him to process his emotions and find a sense of calm.
Music can be so therapeutic.
It can.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most effective coping mechanisms are the ones that bring us joy and help us connect with ourselves.
Absolutely.
So we've got stress management,
Yes.
healthy habits,
Uh-huh.
and emotional regulation.
Yes.
What about when those bigger challenges hit?
Yeah.
You know, like job loss or a serious illness.
Mm.
Does Valenzuela address those kinds of setbacks?
He does. He reminds us that life is full of challenges and setbacks.
Right.
It's how we respond to them that defines our resilience.
Okay.
He encourages focusing on our strengths, learning from our experiences,
Yeah.
and cultivating a growth mindset.
So it's not about avoiding difficult times,
Right.
but rather navigating them with grace and emerging stronger on the other side.
Precisely. And he tells the story of Maria, who lost her job after years of dedicated service.
Oh, wow, that's tough.
She was devastated, feeling a mix of sadness, anger, and self-doubt.
Job loss can be so emotionally challenging.
I agree.
It can really shake your sense of self.
Yeah, how did she cope?
Yeah, how does she cope?
Instead of letting those feelings consume her, she chose to focus on her strengths and the valuable skills she had acquired throughout her career.
So she was reframing her experience.
Yes, she used the time to reflect on her goals, enroll in a course to enhance her skills, update her resume,
Wow.
and actively network.
So she turned a setback into an opportunity for growth.
Exactly. And eventually she landed a new job that was even more fulfilling than her previous one.
That's incredible.
It is.
It reminds me that we always have a choice.
We do.
In how we respond to those curveballs life throws our way.
Absolutely. And Valenzuela emphasizes that we don't have to go through these challenges alone.
That's so important.
Having a support system of friends, family, or a therapist can offer encouragement and guidance
Right.
when we need it most. He also stresses the importance of self-care.
Okay, self-care, it's a bit of a buzzword these days.
It is.
But I'm curious to hear his perspective on it.
Well, he starts by emphasizing that self-care isn't selfish.
Okay.
It's essential for our well-being and the health of our relationships.
Right.
He reminds us that when we're depleted, stressed, or resentful,
Yeah.
it's difficult to show up as our best selves for our partners.
I love that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. Valenzuela uses a great analogy. He compares self-care to the maintenance of a car. Just as we wouldn't neglect regular upkeep for our vehicles.
Yay.
We can't neglect our own emotional, physical, and mental well-being.
That makes so much sense. We often prioritize taking care of our possessions,
If you.
but we neglect the most important possession of all, ourselves.
Exactly. He illustrates this with the example of a parent trying to care for their children while feeling exhausted and depleted.
Mm-hmm.
In those moments, it's easy to become irritable, impatient, and less engaged.
Oh, I can relate to that.
Right? Those days when you're running on fumes are tough.
They are.
Valenzuela points out that in those moments, we might snap at our partners or withdraw emotionally, not because we don't care,
Right.
but because we simply don't have the energy to give.
It's a good reminder that self-care isn't just about pampering ourselves.
Yeah.
It's about showing up for our loved ones in a more present and loving way.
Absolutely. And the book provides some practical tips for prioritizing self-care,
Okay. It's like what?
starting with understanding our own needs and setting healthy boundaries.
I'm glad you brought up boundaries.
Yes.
It's another one of those terms that gets thrown around a lot, but I'm not always sure what it means in practice.
Well, Valenzuela defines it as communicating our needs and limits clearly and assertively.
Okay.
It's about recognizing what brings us joy,
Uh-huh.
what recharges our batteries, and what our non-negotiables are.
So it's about figuring out what we need to thrive
Yes.
and then communicating those needs to the people in our lives.
Exactly. He tells the story of Marco, an introverted artist who felt drained after social gatherings.
The classic introvert dilemma, I can relate to that.
Right. Marco realized he needed more time alone to recharge after being around people.
Yeah.
At first, he felt guilty about needing solitude,
Oh,
like he was letting people down, but he learned to prioritize his own needs,
good for him.
politely declining invitations when he felt overwhelmed, and scheduling dedicated time for himself to paint, read, or simply enjoy quiet time alone.
It's so important to honor our own needs,
It is.
even if they go against societal expectations.
Absolutely. Setting boundaries is also about saying no to requests that drain our energy
Uh-huh.
and making time for ourselves to pursue our passions.
It's about creating a life that feels balanced
Yes.
and aligned with our values. But what about personal growth?
Okay.
Is that a part of self-care as well?
It absolutely is. Valenzuela reminds us that self-care isn't just about pampering ourselves.
Right.
It's also about cultivating a deeper understanding of ourselves
Uh-huh.
and engaging in activities that promote personal growth.
So it's about continuously learning and evolving,
Yes,
becoming the best version of ourselves.
exactly. He tells the story of Maria, who, after years of focusing on her career and family, was feeling a sense of emptiness.
Oh, wow.
A friend suggested journaling,
Okay.
and as she wrote, she began to notice patterns in her emotions and behaviors.
I've heard that journaling can be a powerful tool for self-discovery.
It really is. Through her journaling, Maria realized that she had been neglecting her creative side,
Okay.
particularly painting, which had once brought her so much joy.
So she rediscovered her passion and started painting again.
Yes,
It's like she reclaimed a part of herself that had been lost.
exactly. And as she reconnected with this part of herself,
Yeah,
she felt a renewed sense of purpose and fulfillment.
that's beautiful.
It is.
It highlights the importance of those activities that bring us joy,
Yes.
whether it's a hobby, a new skill, or simply spending time in nature.
It's about giving ourselves permission to do the things that light us up,
Yeah.
to nurture our passions, and to embrace our authentic selves.
I love that. But what happens when our own efforts to build strong foundations aren't enough?
Yeah.
What about those times when we need extra support?
That's where Valenzuela suggests seeking professional help.
Okay.
He dedicates a whole chapter to the benefits of therapy, both for individuals and for couples.
Therapy is such an important topic, and I'm glad he addresses it.
Me too.
What's his perspective on seeking professional help?
He compares it to seeking medical advice for our physical health.
Okay.
We wouldn't hesitate to see a doctor when we're unwell,
Right?
so why hesitate to seek support for our mental and emotional well-being?
It's true.
He believes therapy can be a valuable resource
Yeah.
for individuals and couples facing challenges.
It's about recognizing that we don't have to go through things alone.
Exactly.
There are trained professionals who can offer guidance and support.
Yes. What are some of the specific benefits of therapy that he highlights?
Yeah, what are some of them?
He discusses both couples therapy and individual therapy.
Okay.
For couples, he emphasizes that therapy provides a neutral and supportive environment
Uh-huh.
to address challenges, improve communication, and strengthen the bond.
It's like having a relationship coach
Yes.
who can help you navigate those tricky areas and develop healthier patterns.
Exactly.
Mm.
A skilled therapist can help couples identify and address communication patterns,
Right.
resolve conflicts constructively, and navigate difficult transitions.
He tells the story of Mario and Elena,
Yes.
who are constantly arguing and feeling disconnected.
Their story was so relatable.
It was.
So many couples go through periods of conflict and disconnection.
Right. How did therapy help them?
Well, couples therapy provided a safe space for them to express their concerns,
Okay.
learn new communication skills,
Mhm.
and develop a deeper understanding of each other's perspectives.
So it sounds like therapy gave them the tools to rebuild their connection
It did.
and communicate more effectively.
Exactly. And while it wasn't a quick fix, it provided them with a roadmap for navigating their challenges and strengthening their bond.
It's inspiring to hear that even when relationships hit rough patches,
Yeah,
there's always a possibility for healing and growth.
absolutely. And Valenzuela also discusses individual therapy,
Okay.
which focuses on exploring personal, emotional, and psychological well-being.
Right.
He points out that it can help address issues like low self-esteem, anxiety, and depression,
Mm-hmm.
which can significantly impact our relationships.
It's like that saying again, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly.
Taking care of our own mental and emotional health allows us to give more freely to our partners.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Valenzuela tells Maria's story again, who is struggling with anxiety and low self-esteem.
Okay.
Individual therapy helped her understand the root of her anxieties
Mm.
and develop healthier coping mechanisms.
Wow, good for her.
As a result, she felt more confident and secure, which strengthened her relationship.
So it sounds like therapy was a turning point for her.
It was, but finding the right therapist can be daunting.
Yeah, it can.
Does the book offer any guidance on that?
It does.
Valenzuela emphasizes that finding the right therapist is crucial.
Okay.
He suggests looking for someone who is licensed, experienced,
Mm.
and a good fit for your personality and needs.
Right.
He also stresses the importance of building a trusting relationship with your therapist.
It's like any relationship, it needs to feel safe and supportive in order to thrive.
Exactly. He uses the example of Elena and Mario, who initially struggled to find a therapist who felt like the right fit.
Okay.
They eventually found Dr. Sharma, who emphasized creating a safe and non-judgmental space for open communication.
So finding the right therapist was a turning point for them.
It allowed them to explore their vulnerabilities,
Yeah.
address their challenges, and ultimately strengthen their relationship.
That's fantastic. This has been so insightful.
Yeah.
I feel like we've covered so much ground
We have.
when it comes to building resilience and nurturing ourselves.
Yes, and now in part 3, we'll dive into Valenzuela's insights on creating a fulfilling and lasting relationship,
Oh, wait.
including how to keep that spark alive even after years or even decades together.
Okay, I'm ready to unlock the secrets of long-term love. Bring on part 3.
Okay.
Okay, so we've talked about communication and trust and resilience and self-care.
We have?
Now let's dive into what Valenzuela has to say about nurturing long-term love. Because, let's face it, relationships take effort, especially when you're in it for the long haul.
They do.
So,
You know, one of Valenzuela's most important points, I think,
okay,
is that intimacy isn't just about physical affection.
right.
It's about those deeper connections,
Uh-huh.
emotional, intellectual, even spiritual.
Okay.
It's about truly seeing and being seen by your partner.
It's easy to lose sight of that
It is.
when life gets busy.
It is.
You get caught up in the routines and those meaningful conversations
Yes.
become less frequent.
He talks about a couple, Maria and Jose, who found themselves in that situation.
Okay.
They were comfortable, but the spark had faded.
Okay.
They spent their evenings watching TV, rarely engaging in those deeper conversations they used to have.
It's like they were living more like roommates than romantic partners.
Exactly.
What did they do to change that?
Well, they decided to be intentional about reconnecting.
Okay.
They started a new tradition called Friday Night Talks.
Yeah.
Every Friday, they'd put away their phones, pour a glass of wine, and dedicate an hour to meaningful conversation.
That's such a simple yet powerful idea.
It is.
Did it work?
At first, it felt a bit awkward,
Uh-huh.
like they had forgotten how to have those deep conversations.
Right.
But gradually, they opened up, sharing their thoughts, dreams, and even some unspoken frustrations they had been holding on to.
It's amazing how creating that dedicated space for connection
Yeah.
can make such a difference.
It can.
But it's not just about those scheduled conversations, right? It's about finding those moments of connection
Yes.
throughout the week.
Absolutely. Valenzuela suggests simple things like taking walks together, cooking dinner together, sharing stories, or even just enjoying quiet time together.
Yeah,
It's about being present and intentional,
right.
about nurturing that bond.
So we're communicating.
Yes.
We're connecting. But what about keeping that romantic spark alive?
Okay.
Is that even possible after years together?
Valenzuela believes it talks about the importance of date nights.
Date nights, I love date nights.
It's easy to let romance fall by the wayside,
It is.
especially when life gets hectic.
Right.
We get stuck in routines, and those spontaneous romantic gestures become less frequent.
Date nights are a great way to shake things up
They are.
and reconnect with that playful romantic energy.
Exactly. Valenzuela uses the example of Pedro and Maria again.
Okay.
They found themselves in a rut, so they decided to prioritize date nights.
Good for them.
They explored new restaurants, went on weekend getaways, and even took a dance class together.
A dance class. That sounds fun.
They rediscovered their playful side and that sense of adventure they had shared in the early days of their relationship.
I love that.
Those date nights helped them reignite the spark.
That's so sweet. It's about remembering to have fun together
It is.
and to prioritize those moments of connection.
Yes.
But sometimes those grand gestures aren't possible.
Right.
What about the everyday stuff?
Well, Valenzuela emphasizes the power of small acts of kindness.
Okay.
Leaving a loving note, making your partner their favorite coffee, offering a helping hand with a chore. Those little gestures go a long way.
Those small acts of love can really make a difference.
They do.
In creating a culture of appreciation in a relationship.
And it's about remembering that love is a verb.
I love that.
It's something we actively do,
Right.
not just a feeling we have.
But what about those big life changes that can really shake things up?
Right.
Like kids leaving the nest, career transitions, aging. How do we navigate those as a couple?
Well, Valenzuela dedicates a section to adapting and evolving together.
Okay.
He reminds us that relationships aren't static.
Right.
They're constantly evolving, just like we are as individuals.
So how do we ensure that our relationships grow and evolve alongside us?
He uses the example of Maria and Jose yet again.
Okay.
As their children grew older and their careers progressed, they faced new challenges and entered a new phase of life.
Empty nest syndrome can be a tough transition for couples.
It can be. But Maria and Jose faced it head on.
Good for them.
Open communication was key.
Yeah.
They regularly checked in with each other, discussing their changing needs and goals.
So they're being proactive.
Yes, they were open to new experiences and committed to growing together.
It sounds like they embraced change as an opportunity for growth,
They did.
both individually and as a couple.
That's the key. They understood that relationships require flexibility
Yes.
and a willingness to adapt to those inevitable life transitions.
This is all so insightful. It really paints a picture of what it takes
It does.
to build a fulfilling, lasting relationship.
Valenzuela wraps up the book with a powerful message about finding happiness and fulfillment together.
Okay.
He reminds us that it's about more than just avoiding conflict or maintaining a comfortable routine.
Right.
It's about cultivating a shared sense of purpose,
Uh-huh.
pursuing individual passions,
Yes.
and continuously striving for growth.
It's about creating a life that feels both meaningful and joyful together.
Exactly. And he encourages couples to define their relationship goals and values.
Okay.
What do they hope to achieve together?
Mm-hmm.
What are their shared dreams?
Right.
What kind of relationship do they want to build?
It's about creating a shared vision for the future.
It is.
A roadmap for your journey as a couple.
He also emphasizes that a healthy relationship doesn't require sacrificing your own happiness for your partner.
That's an important point.
It's about nurturing your own well-being
Right.
while supporting your partner's growth.
It's about finding that balance
Yes.
where both partners can thrive individually and as a couple.
Valenzuela ends with a beautiful reminder. Building a love that lasts is an ongoing process.
Yeah.
A journey of continuous growth, discovery, and connection.
Well, that concludes our deep dive into Melvyn C.C. Valenzuela's Building Strong Foundations.
It does.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling inspired to put some of these insights into practice in my own life.
Me too.
What resonated with you most?
Oh, so many things.
What small act of relationship care will you try this week?
I think I'll try those Friday night talks.
That's a great one. We'd love to hear your takeaways. Thanks for joining us on this exploration of healthy relationships. Until next time, keep those foundations strong.
Yes. Keep building.